Good evening, welcome to the May 25th meeting of the Falmouth Conservation Commission. Before we get started, just a couple of things. Electronic devices or cell phone, if you could please silence them or turn them off, greatly appreciated. Also, if you're here to speak on any of the applications this evening, and we encourage you to do so, we just ask that you take the podium and speak into the mic. We are being recorded by SCTV, so if you leave the podium, please take the mic with you. Thank you. Okay, first up is minutes of the March 16th meeting. Has anyone read those and willing to make a motion?
We tabled these because of something.
Those are the ones.
Yeah.
I believe we discussed them. I passed some things into Susan. She's asked me to look at it again.
Okay.
Just for some clarification purposes,
All
those
right.
have already been done.
So are we comfortable with them?
Yeah,
They're still to be done, I think.
Okay, so can you give me a motion to table them until next week?
Move to table.
Second.
Motion by Mary and second by Betsy. All those in favor of tabling, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Abstentions unanimous. So moved. Next is March 30th, the 4 p.m. meeting. That was the steamship. That was
Yes.
4, was it 4?
Yes. I've read these, and I think they're in very good shape. I have a couple small things. I think the only thing of any substance is on the top of page 6, where we were considering what kind of standard we were going to use to decide on competing interpretations, and I was referring to the FEMA standard of no more than 5%. Here it says coverage, but it's actually 5% increase in grade. That was the standard we were talking about. I have a couple other little corrections. On the top of page 4, there's a reference to, we're talking about time of year restrictions, and it says the division, I assume that's the Division of Marine Fisheries, or in the MIFA certificate. Is that supposed to be MIPA?
MIPA.
Okay. And then, aside from some really minor things, I was just wondering if it's easy. The Steamship Authority is referred to as SA throughout here, which is not really a problem, but the standard thing is SSA. So if we could make that change throughout. And I can hand this in.
Okay.
So I moved.
How many, what was the quorum of that? Was Jamie? 4. Okay, and more?
No,
Oh,
Courtney.
Courtney.
What?
You were on that quorum.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, you got a motion?
Move to adopt the minutes with the corrections
And
discussed.
Jamie on the second. Okay, any other further discussion? Okay. To accept the minutes as discussed with the changes submitted by Mary. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Abstentions, unanimous, so moved. Mike?
Just, I wasn't there, so. Okay,
Yeah.
there you go.
You got the, okay.
It should be coming. It should have been coming.
Yeah, can we pass this down?
I'll come get it.
All right, April 20th.
I move that we adopt them.
Okay, we have a motion to adopt, second.
Second.
Second by Mike. Discussion?
I have some tiny corrections to pass in. They're not worth discussing.
Okay. Pass it down to the other 2 keys. With minor corrections. Anything else? Courtney?
No.
You good? Okay, so we have a motion and a second to adopt.
Oh, thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Abstentions, unanimous, so moved. April 27th.
It just came out today, I think.
I think
In
I-
the email. I think they were emailed today. I'm not sure of that. Maybe you're right.
Okay, so nobody's read them, I
I
take.
move that we table them till next week.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Betsy and a second by Mary to table the April 27th minutes till the next week, or, well, next meeting.
Oh, actually, I did read those. This is where we had the presentation on the pond
Yeah.
project.
It was
And did anybody else read them?
it wasn't
I've not.
online.
All right, well, then
So we'll table these to the next meeting, so we get a motion in a second. You all set with that too? Okay, all those in favor of tabling to our next meeting, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Abstentions, unanimous. May 18th.
Mr. Chairman, I wrote and find them acceptable.
Second.
Yeah, I have a number of small changes on these. Particularly where Betsy said, back when people were talking about septic systems, they said the solution to pollution is dilution, but it came out delusion.
Well, that might be true too.
That too.
Yes, it's actually a good little
You missed that one, Mike.
joke.
There you go.
No, I heard the joke.
Yeah,
Right, now
it's quite apt, actually, you're right.
Anything else?
Page 7, the middle, the name is Max Weinfuss,
Could you spell that?
W-E-I-N-F-U-S-S.
F-U or
Yes,
S?
F-U-S-S. There you go.
I'm out.
Anything else?
No, I'm just saying, we have two more that we have to do next week.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
not next week, because
our
we're
next
not here
meeting,
next week.
Our next meeting.
Next meeting.
Okay, we're getting them down there anyway. Okay, do I have a motion?
Yep,
Yes, I think we did.
Mike motioned, but nobody's.
Mike
Oh,
motion
I'll
and a
second.
second.
I'll second.
Okay, so Betsy second. Any other comments? Anything else? Okay, hearing none, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Abstentions, unanimous, so moved. All right, request for determination of applicability. If you're here for any, an RDA, what you want to hear is a negative determination, so. The first one up is Ronald and Irene Garcia, 50 Cape Cod Road, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to pump, fill, and abandon the existing cesspools, install a new Title V sewage disposal system, and the replacement, and to replace the impacted patio and driveway. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we are recommending a -2 under the bylaw and -3 under the state with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Betsy and second by Mary. Any other discussion amongst the board here? Questions or comments from the public? Okay, hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Abstentions unanimous, so moved. Next up is Lawrence Rothschild, 3 Hamlin Point Road, Wacoit, Mass, with permission to vista prune according to the Falmouth Wetlands Regulation. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we are recommending a -2 under the state and the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So moved.
Second.
It's a motion by
Mary.
Mary and a second by Betsy to accept staff's recommendation. Comments, questions from the board? Comments, questions from the public? Okay, hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Abstentions unanimous, so moved. National Grid, care of Brad Malo, along Ransom Road from house number 96 to 104, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to install a 2-inch plastic gas main extension in the road and 2 service connections to house number 102 and 104. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we are recommending a -2 under the state and the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So moved.
Second.
Sound like a motion by,
Mr. Chairman?
Motion by. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Brad Malo from Coastal Engineering, and just procedurally, I'd just like to confirm that we'd submitted a revised plan dated May 17th, 2016, and just like to confirm that that would be the plan of the record.
May 17th.
May 17th?
Yes.
Would be staff.
I'm sure Mark has, probably, so, revised plan, what was the revised plan was dated May 17th?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
So the plan, then it should be the plan of May 17th.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Okay.
look and see if it's, I'm sure it's in the file.
You wanna do, they wanna table this and then move on to the next?
No, you can keep going.
You sure?
Yeah, we'll be fine.
All right. So that's,
The motion second there.
we got a motion by Courtney, right?
Yeah.
And who was the second? Mike?
I think Mary,
I think it was me.
I think
Okay.
Mary beat me.
Yeah.
You
Mary.
get paid more when you're the second.
So my question is, do we need to have the May 17th? Okay. Yeah, we have. It's in there? All right, good. Okay, any other comments or questions from the board? Comments or questions from the public? Okay, hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Abstentions unanimous, so moved. Next up is Anthony Newman, 97 Charles River Road, Wacoit, Mass. For permission to pump, fill, and abandon the existing cesspools and install a new Title V sewage disposal system. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we are recommending a -2 in the state and the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So moved.
I'll give that to
Second.
Mike, and a second by Mary. Any other comments, questions from the board? Comments, questions from the public? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Abstention unanimous. James Ramsdell, 73 Old Dock Road, West Falmouth, Mass. For permission to pump, fill, and abandon the existing cesspools, sleeve the water service line, and install a new Title V sewage disposal system with a black water holding tank. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we are recommending a -2 into the state and the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
Second.
So we got a motion by Jamie and a second by Betsy. Comments, questions from the
I just,
commission? Courtney?
it's just, it's a matter of order. Did we just do Martha Hamilton? I thought we,
No, it's kind of shoved in there.
Yeah,
We
you
forgot the
see it?
space in there, Courtney. You were fine.
okay.
Yeah. Okay, any other comments, questions?
Oh, I see.
Comments, questions from the public? Okay, hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Abstentions, unanimous, so moved. Martha Hamilton, 8 Burgess Street, West Falmouth, Mass. For permission to pump, fill, and abandon the existing cesspool, install a new Title V sewage disposal system with 2 Hoot 600 ANR tanks, and to sleeve the portion of force main located within 10 feet of the water service. Jen?
-2 into the state and the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Courtney, a second by Mary. Comments, questions from the board? Comments, questions from the public? Okay, hearing none, call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Abstentions, unanimous, so moved.
And that's just a repeat, that next one on
Okay,
the
that was-
second page. I think
That's
she
where
just,
that was
yeah.
where I was confused.
Yep, okay. Request for a hearing under a notice of intent. All hearings of the Falmouth Conservation Commission are held simultaneously under the authorities of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetland Bylaw. Although a single decision of the commission is issued, it represents a separate decision under each authority. And first up, we have the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute, care of David DeRoja, 360 Woods Hole Road, 171 Oyster Pond Road, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to expand the existing cave storage and truck parking area at Coastal Research Lab near Oyster Pond Road, including drainage improvement, restoration, and mitigation plantings, and the associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping. Jen?
Yes, Mr.
I'm recusing.
So you got that, Susan. Betsy and Mary are recusing themselves.
My name is Michael McGrath. I'll put up the colored ones for you. My name is Michael McGrath. I'm a registered engineer and professional land surveyor. I work for Holmes and McGrath with civil engineers and land surveyors in Falmouth. We prepared the plans and the notice of intent that's been before you. We filed the notice, and later we supplemented it with an additional plan. So the original notice, this is the Reinhardt Coastal Research Laboratory. This is Oyster Pond Road. In the notice of intent was a locus map that showed you where this is. The bottom line is Oyster Pond Road is basically the easterly, it's very approximate, it's the easterly boundary of the Quista campus. It's actually southeasterly. But in any case, there's two entrances off of Oyster Pond Road. There's one over here, and then this is the most southerly one. So the Reinhardt Coastal Research Laboratory is number 171, and the Oceanographic has received a grant, or they're doing more work on the construction, maintenance, and operation of large ocean buoys. And the space around the Reinhardt Coastal Research Laboratory is too crowded for safe operation. They need to bring a big forklift. If you've been there and you look, they have stacked some of the containers too high, and so, meaning they've stacked them too high, and they're stacked on top of each other. And so what goes on is they need more area to move around and to store and maintain the ocean-going buoys. So we file a notice of intent. The research, the resource areas that are on the site is that there is a small wetland that's completely full of phragmites that's lies to the basically directly east of the research lab. There's also floodplains. This is a velocity zone that comes across. It's the 2014 wetland boundaries. There's also an A zone that cuts up inside the site of the Quista campus. Existing on the site, there is an existing vegetated area that goes like this. This is the Osprey Pole. There is in this location a tertiary treatment system that was permitted in 2006. It was appropriately permitted. We went through the Cape Cod Commission, and from between 2004 to 2006, that's when we built the ring road, and this was put in. What's happened is the floodplain is over 3 foot higher, so now we have new resources that are unfortunately closer to where the buildings are. This building and this building over here both need salt water, so there's actually salt water pipes that go out into Vineyard Sound, and the salt water comes to this settling and then gets discharged by gravity out into Vineyard Sound. So these are absolutely appropriately located, and all of the permits exist for all of the work that was here. But now we have to go into this area here to propose new pavement. And unfortunately, we're within a resource area B of a coastal bank. And this is in an area that's designated as rare and endangered species habitat, but is the 3 species are terns, 3 different terns. We provided you with a quick description of where the terns nest and live, and they live on barrier beaches and dunes. They don't live here. They won't land here, and the only thing that we can think of is that this was at one time a flyway, so they would fly between here and Buzzards Bay, because this doesn't have any of the characteristics of having the resource, being in rare endangered species habitat. The MESA actually told us that we could use the same MESA filing for some work that was done in this building 5 or 6 years ago, and that's described in the notice. So in your regulations, it says that if there's rare and endangered species habitat, the resource area A is 100 feet. Well, that doesn't make any sense to us, especially since it's not really, truly habitat that's used by those particular species, which are birds that live on dunes and sands, sand beaches and barrier beaches. So what we've shown is the resource area is A, is 25 feet along this coastal bank because it doesn't touch a wetland in this area. There is a wetland across the street I forgot to describe. So unfortunately, there is a significant area that's in resource area B. The area is, there's 9 square foot of impervious in A, and then there's 5675 square foot of impervious area increase in resource area B. So we need to give you 3 times this and 2 times this area. And what we did is we went out and we've sort of carved out pieces that that will not interfere with the use of the campus. And unfortunately, we don't have enough area here. So, and what I should describe to you is that there's an osprey pole here. And the osprey, they don't want tall shrubby things underneath, so this dark green area has been designated as having low-growing plants. And the rest of it, we have used plants from your list. Now, we were 3,037 square feet short. So after we filed the notice, we actually went out and looked all over the place for more space. One of the problems, if you look at the locust map that's on the site, all of the other wetlands that are on the campus, and I think there's 4, are completely surrounded by vegetation. So there's no place that we can actually go and restore plants. So what we did is we filed a subsequent additional supplemental area where we're proposing to plant 3,100 square feet that's on oceanographic land at Trunk River. The oceanographic leases this to the town. At the moment, there's no lease in force in effect. But this is the Trunk River parking lot. This is the Trunk River. And this is the bike path. And obviously, this is a beach. And this is a pond. And the pond's surrounded by phragmites again. And when you go to the parking lot, there's an area that looks like a path, and it is bare. It's surrounded on both sides by vegetation. So we propose to fill in this area with 4 different species of woody indigenous species that are clearly labeled on the plan. Winterberry, bayberry, Virginia rose, and beach plum. Since I filed this late, I actually gave notice by FedEx to 2 of the additional abutters that would have been, that should have gotten notice in the beginning. So I forgot to give you these, but one of the abutters has commented that he'd like a continuance. So his continuance would be concerning this particular work. And so what we wanted to do was go forward so you would understand the scope of the work, because this is an ongoing project that they're already moving these buoys around, and they want to get this built as soon as they can. So the second sheet just is a little bit explanation showing you areas. Now, in the notice was a drainage and management plan. If you've looked at it, there is this actually intercepts significant runoff that comes from the Clark building down. So we filed a drainage analysis that includes an O&M plan. And what this does is that the first 1 inch of runoff leaches into the ground. There are storm scepters, which is a manufactured device that's basically intercepts the flow and separates the solids. So the bottom line is we have met the standards for the DP. There is a direct discharge, but this is sized for over a 25-year storm, so only in a very severe storm would any water come out. That's the 9 square feet that I talked about, and that is nothing more than the apron where the pipe erupts. I don't believe that you'll see water here most times. Theoretically, it's 1 in 25 years water would come out of there. So in any case, I believe that if you accept the off-site plantings, which are, in my mind, more beneficial to the environment than any additional plantings here. We did, for instance, look at trying to squeeze more plants around this the saltwater settling pond, but they need to bring equipment in to get around to clean it. So there's no real place that's available on the campus that's near this wetland, and as I said, the other wetlands are completely surrounded by woods on almost every case. So we don't have any place to put the required plantings except on other land of the owner across the road. So do you have any questions of me that I can answer?
Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Mike, how many, do you know how many trees you're removing? And how many caliper inches it represents?
I don't know the number offhand.
Since we're gonna probably continue this, the board will probably like that information. A comment, Mr. Chairman, I do agree with Mr. McGrath's, statements regarding the rare species. This isn't the habitat you're gonna find the terns in. So they're going to be on the barrier reach. They're not gonna be nesting up in here, so, I understand how why natural heritage included it, but it's not gonna be a nesting area or foraging area for those terns. So staff doesn't have too many concerns in regards to that. I did go on site. They have kind of a restricted site for the planting. We did go through other options that might possibly be available to the oceanographic to meet the mitigation requirements. And it would obviously have to be accepted by the board, was to put the extra 3,000 plus or minus square feet needed in a CR, because there's a CR on the property now, and to expand that. The oceanographic did not choose to put that idea before the board. So their choice was to go down to the bike path. Mike, you know how the board feels about off-site mitigation, and I said to you on the phone today, I have concerns with planting in that area with all the rock and everything. So I don't have too many the concerns of the neighbor. I know you want to address that. I don't have concerns that those plants are going to reach the heights in which the abutter is concerned with. Not in that area, not with that wind. But I'm still wary of off-site mitigation for a project. We've seen it before, and this board has kind of rejected that idea in the past. That said, they do have a tight site. It's outside of our, other possible areas to put plants seem to be outside of our jurisdiction. So basically what's before the board is reduce the area of expansion to fit the required mitigation, or accept the off-site, which you haven't in the past, or ask the applicant to explore another option. But Mike, I'm gonna need the caliper inches of those trees.
I will get you that.
Because I just kind of like circled all of them, and it looks like you're removing like 20.
There's no question, there's a lot
Yeah,
of
you
trees.
get a lot, so
that
they're
are
probably
in-
gonna need, some mitigation for the trees, and not just that one eastern red cedar you're gonna plant, so. I mean, I know you have a tight site, I know you looked at planting all the way up to the settling saltwater pond, but that's the institution needs to be able to access their equipment, so I told you that out in the field, I didn't agree with that policy, that approach, so,
No, that's not before you.
I know. So those are my comments, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thanks, Jen. Court.
Oh, and one other thing, I don't have a problem with the low areas for the offspring, those little low growth areas in that, in the vicinity of the osprey pole, I don't have a problem with.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry about that, Courtney.
Kind of following on from Jen's comment about off-site mitigation, that's true. We have not bought into that in the past. I can think of one project particular that comes to mind that was Mike brought before us some years back, and we stoutly rejected the off-site.
Excuse me, point of order. No, you approved the Great Sipuisset Marsh at 8 Wigwam. I proposed some plants be put up at the bike path. They were put up and they were installed and they're in good
Yeah,
shape.
but I don't believe that
That's
they were
off-site.
part of the mitigation.
Yes, they were.
Let them finish, and
All
then
right.
I'll give you all the time you want.
As far as this particular situation, I mean, if we chose
I
to
just don't think it's appropriate.
allow it, we would have to just make a finding that this was an appropriate mitigation. The other part of this is a very harsh location. If you've been down along that area, you know that the bike path is washed out a number of times in that area, and and so I have real concerns about the survivability of mitigation plantings down in that area. I can't speak to whether or not the ones that were proposed are appropriate for that location, but, those are my concerns about that part of the project. The rest of it I have no problem with.
Thanks, Court. Kristen?
I have a couple questions. The area is going to be used for paved storage and truck parking, correct?
Correctly, it's going to be used for
You have to
building.
come up with
By the way, I'm Rick Gallant, I'm the facilities engineer at the Oceanographic. Specifically, it's for loading tractor-trailer trucks for moving mooring and buoy gear to remote sites. So if we're loading a ship, say on the west coast, we need a loading dock to load this equipment on. Currently, we've been doing it on that ring road, and it's a quite dangerous location for it. So Mike has helped us identify a new space to make it safer for us, but that requires some of that staging space that we're attempting to develop over there. So by trucks, that's what it really is. It's a tractor-trailer truck that's coming in to get loaded and move off-site.
Loaded from the facility that's there
Correct.
currently?
Coastal Research Laboratory.
So there's a tennis court and a sand court and a ball field that are adjacent to those buildings?
That's correct.
And those sites are not considered?
They were considered. There was a palace revolt, basically, in any attempt to take them. Those were donated funds for that specific purpose. The ball field specifically has a leaching system for our septic and process waste. The volleyball court has all the fiber optic cables that run from, I think it's that Cape Cod service underneath it, and the tennis court is kind of a sacred place. So, to be honest, they were not considered. They were considered, but there was a strong opposition to taking them over for staging.
Okay, so the tennis court is sacred because,
It's used recreation as a valuable asset for us in attracting young scientists that choose a healthy recreational lifestyle and a great place to work. So it's a recruiting tool for us at the Oceanographic to have those kind of amenities.
the trees, I need to know, just for my own, looking on the map, there was a tree that was taken down right at the corner.
Yeah, there was a dead Norway maple that
Where
was
is
rotted.
that on the map, just for my own?
Recently you're talking about?
Yes,
That was probably in this area right about here.
right.
Not in the area that's being developed, but
Okay, so
in the
next to the-
existing paved area, or just outside the existing paved area.
Okay, okay.
We're having, as everyone is experiencing, a lot of dead things these days, black oaks and Norway maples, so for safety, we have to take them down as we
Yeah.
identify them.
Okay. There are very many trees in that area, and some very old, huge trees in that area.
Yeah, that's a large Norway maple in there,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
quite a lot of trees will have to be moved for, and that's concerning.
Yeah, I understand.
And the other thing that I was wondering is there's no space for mitigation in one area because there's going to be a coastal bank stone pad on the coastal bank.
Yes, that's the outlet pipe
Right.
from the drainage system. We designed them for a 25-year storm. And so whenever that storm's exceeded, we have to have a place for the water to come.
So you have to have it come into the coastal bank?
It has to come out by gravity, and so yes, it has to come out in the coastal bank. It may be a coastal bank. Most laymen would not understand that that's a resource area because it's so far away from the ocean. And as I said, up until 2014, it wasn't even a coastal bank. The Conservation Commission filed written testimony supporting these, the DRI application and during that process, and that resulted in approval in 2006. That's when we built the denitrification system in that building.
Are you planning to increase this truck access to the Osprey area?
Oh, we have to regularly go up there. That's Osprey Cam, that a lot of people know it as by, which is a online viewing of the Osprey.
Is it currently online, or is that the one that?
We had to take it off.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So we had an issue with Mommy Osprey last year. That wasn't well received by the public. But we still, Hamilton regularly goes and maintains Osprey Cam for us. We also rescued 2 of the young osprey last year. So we need that path to get to that osprey pool because they go out there with their boom truck and help us out with that. So we want to maintain that path.
So you can't take that concrete area there for mitigation? Or
There is-
roadway?
There's an
It's a roadway.
asphalt access way to a wastewater treatment plant. And then we just go off there and onto the,
This is the edge of pavement. Yeah, we can't do away with that. That's how we get to the treatment plant.
yeah, that's existing.
Okay.
So the next section of it is just identified as a travel route for the bucket truck to go maintain Osprey Cam.
Okay.
And then there's another gap in it, and if you go to the site, there's a black pipe that lies on the ground, and there's a tank that occasionally gets drained. So they reinstall the pipe every time, so that's why there's this 4-foot wide, what appears to be a walkway.
Okay. So, just in my opinion, the adverse effect is the removal of all these trees. I wondered about the Phragmites, if you were going to be doing anything about that as part of mitigation?
We haven't, I don't think, discussed that option. We we don't like them either, but we haven't made any attempt to get rid of them.
Because they'll continue to take over,
Yeah.
yeah. And as far as the priority habitat, I mean, it may not be a nesting area, but you can certainly see quite a bit of flyover of
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
of the turns, all in that area.
Sure.
Yeah, so. That's enough.
Thanks, Kristen. Mike?
And walking the area, you get enough area, my first impulse was to take those trees down for a parking lot. It seems like you could write a song about it, you know,
Sure.
it doesn't feel right.
Right.
But when you physically there and you see what you're trying to do and what the facility does, I don't really see any choices. I couldn't see one either, so I'm sympathetic to your cause. With that said, what you are doing is a great improvement. I mean, you're handling wastewater and stormwater, excuse me, handling stormwater in such a better way than what is currently being done, even at the facility. I like it. And I'm going to come back to that. I did notice there are at least 2 monitoring wells at the facility.
We have a
And-
DEP permit.
And why? Are you handling hazardous materials?
No.
And people will worry? What's the,
Whenever you install a advanced wastewater treatment system under the groundwater discharge
3 down,
permit,
1 up.
you have to install monitoring wells. They're measured quarterly. And so they were installed where DEP directed them.
Jen, if you stand in the facility, the area contributing to it is not obvious to me. I mean, there's quite a bit of topography, and I'm sure Mike did a great job, but are we gonna have the calculations checked?
I can send them over to Scott.
I would. I mean, it's
Okay.
just not, no disrespect, but with an eyeball, I can't tell you the area is appropriate or not.
In the notice, there is an aerial photograph where we
I got it.
We have a significant amount of unpublished data, and we did a topographic survey some time ago.
Right,
So that's how that boundary was determined.
okay. It's just, when you look at the photograph, you stand on the ground and look at it, it's I guess to a casual observer, it's not apparent. That's all I'm saying, and if somebody checks it, that's good. And I'm coming back. Stormwater management and the facility to the due east, I guess it is, that it's related, those buildings,
Correct. The
is,
one with,
was fine for the time, but it doesn't meet current stormwater management practices. It just, that running to the houses, around the greenhouses, everything to the east. This stuff to the east. East. All those over there.
Well, wait a minute, that was reviewed by the Cape Cod Commission in 2006, so I'm not
Well,
sure.
you want pictures, it's not great stormwater management, and that's none of our yours, but if you're looking for a way to not put so many trees in, at least this commission would be appreciative of upgrading that in lieu of some trees. Or not trees, excuse me, mitigation, it's just a suggestion. If you walk it, and I can show you pictures, Mike, it's not a beautiful
I'd be
thing.
happy.
It's not a beautiful thing.
Oh, well,
That's all I'm coming from. And with that, I'm right with you guys. You need it. This isn't a Walmart so somebody can buy shoes. It's doing a great purpose. You need it to continue to work. I regret the trees going down. I really like trees, and but I don't see an alternative. So I'm sympathetic to it. But I'm sympathetic to the fact that you can't grow any more trees. The place is full. But I'm saying there is something that could benefit the same applicant right next door. And if that's aggressive with everybody, it would make this commission feel good. But it's just an opinion. I'm done.
Jamie?
I kind of agree, I mean, it's a half-decent compromise, something to think about. You need this much space? Can it be reduced at all to reduce the mitigation
If you
requirement?
ask the science, they would ask you for twice as much. So we were kind of limited by the site of how much they take. What this particular group does is they're involved in two projects. One is global. So what we do is we set buoys around different parts of the world that are kind of assessing climate change. So the oceanographic took on a huge project, and this group in particular stepped forward and has been inundated with work. So there's a truck, I think, going in and out weekly out of that site, shipments of material to support this initiative. I think we reduced it to what would be the bare minimum of what they would like to expand to. So, and that is restricted by obviously impacting the various wetland areas that are identified around that site. Maybe 10 years from now, if the growth continues, they'll be moved out of that laboratory and into another space at the oceanographic. But, that will be another project to review at that particular time.
Nothing more?
Mike, I wasn't involved in the wigwam or any of those. So I do have a little bit of an issue with moving the mitigation around like that to different properties, different pieces of property. I know it's owned by the same. I like Jennifer's idea of the CR on it, and that was my big issue with this.
The major problem with the CR is first, it sort of restricts the campus from future development, and the second thing is she said we couldn't go forward until the CR is recorded. And that's very severe because it takes months. And frankly, we don't want to wait months. And the thing I would point out, that even if we did agree to a CR, for instance, the Cape Cod Commission says you can't occupy your facility until the CR is recorded, which is more reasonable. But we will look at the drainage issue that was discussed at the next facility to the northeast.
Mr. Chairman, I have one other question
You're good, Jay.
regarding the tennis court. And I know your palace for bolts and everything, and I understand wanting the amenities, but does the tennis court have to be in that exact area? Could you move it somewhere else, like relocate it? So you still have the amenities to attract the young talent that you would like, but also be able to possibly reduce the impact to that buffer and expand in an area that's already disturbed?
There's no saying that we can't do anything.
Because you do have a big site, and
Right.
what you're trying to do is you're trying, we understand the need, and the board is sympathetic to the need of the institution and your project, but you have a lot of land.
Yeah.
You have a lot of upland that you don't want to disturb or touch because you want to utilize it at a later date. And so you're asking the commission to compromise on their regulations and what they usually hold the residents to a standard to, when you do have the ability, you have a lot more wiggle room than other applicants.
Yeah, I guess to answer that, the biggest problem with the tennis court is when we have a 20-ton forklift that picks up these huge containers, and when you pick them up, you got to drive backwards because you can't see in front of them. So
And your
what happens
road.
is you're crossing a road, and not everybody is paying attention when you cross. We've had a lot of near accidents over the years when we load the truck, which is currently loaded right here. The big 10-wheeler comes and loads here, so the fork truck backs up this road here. So if you're asking the truck now, the forklift now to back up this way to load up a big tractor trailer truck or something like that, I think, that's not a very safe condition for us.
And
That's
yellow
certain-
flashy lights wouldn't help that situation?
flagmen, maybe out there.
Well, they are, obviously they're doing that already.
I can't buy that one.
Yeah, I'm just,
You're trying.
I'm trying to give you out, I've been there for 30 years and seen a lot, and so, a lot happens, not everybody's paying attention all the time, obviously, and some people are, looking to the left and looking to the right instead of looking straight ahead, so there's a lot of nice things to look at out there.
I think, I know Mike said you're gonna have a continuance, I think, maybe explore the tennis court option a little bit more, maybe explore Ms. Alexander's, comments about possibly undertaking a Phragmites mitigation project, look at Mr. Powers', suggestion, the drainage in that north area, right, Mike?
Kind of east.
Yeah, northeast area, and listen to what the commission has said and look at all of that.
Sure, of course.
And
Is the areas you're interested in additional stormwater drainage referencing the seawater lab, the environmental systems lab? Or is it
Yeah, I think it's
To the
ESL.
east.
ESL. is
Yes,
talking-
way off here.
Yeah.
they can do
Is that what you're
Yeah.
referencing?
Because it was a nice spot, you could see.
explore yellow flashy lights and trucks with backup alarms on them.
Yes, that's a regulation.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I just feel I have to say something, because
Absolutely.
I've been in this town a long time, and a long time ago, when it became obvious that we needed a zoning bylaw that set minimum distances from mean high water around the town. And I helped write the zoning bylaw that was adopted by town meeting, but we purposely exempted, for instance, Woods Hole Village. So if you read that provision, it exempts the places where there's no room. Here we have one of the premier research institutions. We went through 2 years worth of hell, worth of permitting, and now all of a sudden we're faced with, because of a change in a resource area, we're basically being told you built too close and you need to give us more plans. When I look at that big picture, which is what I have to do, because when I design something for him, it's not a home. I mean, it's gonna be used for 40, 50, 60 years. So I just think that you ought to reconsider whether or not you want to put resource area buffers in places like this. There ought to be something that recognizes the benefits they do to mankind. So I'll climb down off the soapbox.
Please.
Can I just mention?
Chris, something else?
Well, with all due respect, the area of trees that you'll be taking down for asphalt is enormous, and it's beautiful, and you have upland area that's not within the jurisdiction and would not be taking down any trees. So I find that, difficult to accept that, that you haven't looked at that area that's out of the jurisdiction.
Well, we will look at the alternative. Now, one of the, as I said to you, when we refiled this in an attempt to create this, which we thought was an absolutely appropriate offset. If you go there, there's no reason why that wouldn't exist. There were 3 abutters that would have had notice that they didn't get. Well, one actually got notice, but it didn't describe its work. So one of them has asked for a continuance because he wants to comment on the height of these trees, height of these vegetation trees. And I purposely haven't talked about his issue. I figured let him discuss it with you, and but we think this is a perfectly appropriate place to put these plants. So I've asked for a continuance for 4 weeks from tonight.
4 weeks from tonight, Mike?
That's what the individual asked for.
Yeah. Okay, let me schedule that here.
I think he copied you in on his email.
Yeah, he did. So that would bring us to the 22nd of June?
I don't think there's anything we can do.
Can I get a motion on that, and then we'll open up the public comment?
said it, that's good.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Any other comments from the commission? Mike, are you all set for now?
Yes.
Okay. Jen, you good?
Yeah.
Any comments from the public? Okay. Hearing none, then I'll call for the vote on the motion to continue until June 22nd. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Abstention, unanimous, so moved.
Rick,
Thanks, Mike.
what's your
See you
last
back on the
name for
22nd.
Susan over here? Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Nick.
Okay, next up is continued request for a hearing under a notice of intent. The Shumet Valley Property Owners, Inc., Courier Road, map 09-01-008-008, East Falmouth, Mass., for permission to
I don't
conduct
think so, she's good.
nourishment project by placing 320 cubic yards of clean sand and other ancillary improvement activities, including the addition of a picnic table, bench, information board, the removal of 3 stumps, and the associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping. Can somebody call Betsy and Mary back there?
Elise, do you have a revision date on your plan?
519?
Oh, it is the 5/19, okay.
I'm just waiting for 2 of our members to come back.
I didn't see that one, yes.
It looks good.
Okay. I have an extra copy if you need it.
You do?
Could be, I'll get it to you.
Yeah, that's fine. I can just look on this one.
Okay. I'll make sure.
Scribble notes on the other one. I'll transfer them later.
Okay, I've already read it, guys, so I'm just gonna go right to Jen. Jen,
I'm going to save any of my comments until after Elise's presentation.
Thank you very much. My name is Elise Leduc. I'm a scientist with Woods Hole Group, and I'll be representing the Shumet Valley Property Owners, Inc., ABPOI, which is this presentation. I'm here tonight to present their project for proposed nourishment and ancillary improvement activities at the ABPOI Association Beach, located on the Shumet Pond along Courier Road in East Falmouth. I'm going to give a brief overview of the project, but then Joan Bates, the president of the Homeowners Association, is here. She'd like to just say a couple words when I'm finished. There's also a few other members of the homeowners group here just in support of the project. We filed an original NOI application more than a month ago, but we recently submitted that revised plan last week, dated, what did I say, May 17th? The only difference between the 2 plans is this new one has the tree locations on it. So other than that, the plan is exactly the same. The nourishment footprint is colored in on the plan in the lower portion here, so the orange, yellow, blue area. That total area is 10,730 square feet. It pretty much extends from the southern edge of the access stairs here all the way almost to the property line on the southern side, and it goes from this rocky embankment out approximately 20 feet past the high water mark, which is the edge of the pond. The total volume of sand we're proposing to put here is 320 cubic yards. What that's going to look like, we looked at a couple of different options on how to basically improve the overall recreational experience of this site without dramatically changing the topography. We're really just trying to get a better ground surface for a beach. So we're really not adding that much sand. It's a thin veneer. We're not changing the slope that much at all. This is actually, both of these are cross sections from A and B. A goes from an existing slope of 1 to 15 to a slope of 1 to 12. And B goes from an existing slope of 1 to 12 to 1 to 9. We had looked at two other options, one keeping the sand farther in and one putting the sand farther out, and you kind of have a little give and take with that. As you put the sand farther out, your slope can maintain something closer to what's existing today, and as you pull the sand farther in towards the land, you get a much steeper slope. And we were really trying to avoid making this really steep beach. All the sand that will be placed there will come from an upland source. Will consist of medium sand, typical that you would see on a beach. This is different from what's there now, which is the whole reason for putting this project forward. What's at the beach now has a lot of gravel in it. It's not really comfortable to walk on and sit on. You know, families and children come and, you know, sunbathe and recreate, build sandcastles down here. However, because it's really, we're not trying to nourish a beach in the sense that people nourish ocean beaches. It's not that it's eroding. We're not trying to build anything up or out. Again, this is a really thin layer of sand. So in cross-section A, we're really talking about at the very thickest portion of it, which will be up by the rocky embankment, only 10 inches of sand depth will be placed. As you get to where the water line is, it's only 5 inches. At 10 feet out, it's 2.5, and by the time you get to the end of the footprint, it's basically tapering to grade. Similarly, at cross-section B, which is down here, it's a little bit wider, so we were able to fit in a little bit more sand. Again, the thickest portion of the sand will be 12 inches thick. By the time you get down to the water line, 8 inches, 10 feet out into past the water line is 4 inches, and then again tapering to grade as you move out. In addition to the placement of sand, the group is also looking at enhancing the overall property by adding a couple ancillary items. They're proposing an additional picnic table. There is one picnic table already at the site. They're proposing a more put-together sign kiosk by the entryway. Right now there's a couple signs tacked on trees. An additional bench. They'd like to keep the bike rack that's there, keep the benches. Basically just make it so it's more visitor-friendly, a little bit more organized in terms of signage. And finally, the removal of 3 stumps. So at the southern end of the property, there's 3 stumps that would be removed. Since we are already going to have machinery in there moving the sand around, it seemed like a good time to get those stumps out all in one go. In terms of resource areas, the majority of the footprint is actually in the upland. Everything that's in this sort of tan color is an upland area. It's about 7,500 square feet. There's also land under water bodies, so that's the area past the edge of the water line. That's in the blue. Again, I said we proposed putting the footprint of the sand 20 feet past that line. That ends up being approximately 900 square feet, sorry, 2,200 square feet. And then the inland beach is this thin yellow strip right here, which is basically from the water line to the high water mark of record. Ends up being only 900 square feet. We did map a bordering vegetated wetland on the site, but it is north of the staircase that accesses the beach. The group had originally envisioned the nourishment extending through the whole property, but when we discovered there was this wetland here, we pulled the footprint back and proposed only the project for the southern part of the beach because we didn't want to adversely affect this resource in any way. Almost the entire project area is also in natural natural heritage and endangered species habitat. I think there's 60 square feet somewhere up here that fall outside that line somehow. We have had extensive conversations with natural heritage. That was the reason for the continuance in the first place. We hadn't received their letter yet. We had been in communication with Brent Powers at Natural Heritage. He wanted to make sure that the homeowner association understood what Natural Heritage would be requiring in terms of surveys and cooperation on their part to make sure that there was no take of any of the endangered or threatened species. The two species of interest at this site, one is a mussel, the tidewater mucket, and one is a plant, the pondshore knotweed. After discussing with Natural Heritage, they basically have no problem with the project as proposed, provided we do two things. The first is to do a botanical survey, and that should be done sometime between August 1st and September 31st. The group is going to have that done this year. Brent had said that if it was done this year, it would be good for at least a year, so depending on how the rest of our permits work out for this project, that would give the group the option to also conduct construction prior to the August 1st survey time that he's proposed for the vegetation next year. If plants are found during that survey, that's a whole nother question. But if the botanical survey goes forward and there's no pondshore knotweed, then in that respect, there's no issue with the project. The second piece is to do a mussel survey and sweep the day of construction. So that would basically have an aquatic biologist out in the water doing a survey for any mussels, whether they are threatened or not, taking an assessment of what the population is, but also collecting and relocating any of the mussels they find within the footprint of the project and moving them outside of the footprint of the project, so that the sand that's going to be placed there that day will not adversely harm any of those animals. In terms of construction methodology and timing, the construction access will be through an existing opening in the guardrail at the southern end of the property. The opening is too small, however, to actually get a truck through or any of the machines that need to spread the sand. We have contacted the Falmouth DPW, and they are 100% fine coming in, taking out a piece of the guardrail, and putting it back in when we're done. So everything will be restored as is there when we're finished. The sand will be delivered by truck and will be spread as it's dumped at the site, so there'll be no stockpiling of any kind. Again, due to the time restrictions Natural Heritage has suggested for doing the botanical survey and the mussel sweep, the construction will be a little constrained in terms of when it can actually happen. So if it were to happen this year, it would happen in September, which is basically after the point where they can do the botanical survey, but still in the point where they can do the mussel survey. If that doesn't pan out, then we're looking at doing it sometime next summer. So it really just depends on how everything plays out moving forward. In the area where the sand will be placed in the water, there will be no machines. The contractor who's been in communication with the group has an excavator with an arm that can spread the sand out a little bit remotely. And then any further spreading at that point will be done by hand with rakes. In summary, this project is a really good project. I mean, so it's a large community group that has this great recreational resource at their disposal that they're trying to make better. Right now it's a little rundown looking, you know, the signs are hard to read, hard to find, the benches are kind of in disrepair, the sand isn't that appealing to go lounge and hang out on. And they're just trying to improve the overall area. They're avoiding as much as they can in terms of impacts to resources. Nothing will really be harmed in terms of overall habitat. We're not paving anything, nothing will be made into impervious area. We're not cutting any trees. And so seems like a pretty win-win situation from my end, but see what you guys think. Joan Bates from the group would also like to say a couple quick things before any questions you might have.
Thank you, Elise. My name is Joan Bates. I'm president of the Ashland Valley Property Owners, Inc. We represent roughly 207 members. We have a couple of volunteer members as well, as required members. Our community, in case you're not familiar with it, runs between Route 151 behind and around the Paul Harney Golf Course and bordering up to the county fairgrounds and down to the pond, excluding that area of Courier Road specifically on the pond, except for our beach. So that gives you a little bit of an idea of who we are. We have been incredibly supportive of the environment from our community's point of view. You may or may not be aware of the fact that it was members of our community that launched the very important work on correcting the plumes coming from the base. We're pretty proud of that. We worked hard on that. We were successful in getting it accomplished, so pretty good stuff. We have a long history, I think, of supporting environmental activities in the community. We're very excited about this. We haven't done any work on our beach for a long time, and it's kind of time again. We have a number of young children, families in our community. You know how communities are kind of cyclical. We're back to kids, which is kind of nice. And we really want to give them the opportunity to enjoy this fabulous area. We have people going on kayaks and cute little blow-up things, I don't know what they're called, from there. And some of our people are boaters that go out to the state boat ramp. So it's a very popular area, and we'd like to see the opportunity to make it even better. So with that in mind, that's why we're here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Jim?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I went out on site with Elise to kind of review the project one very cold morning. It was very cold. I mean, the staff doesn't have any concerns really with a lot of like the proposed table, removing the stumps, you know, revamping the kiosk. I don't have any issues with that. My major concern was going to be regarding what I assumed the rare species was the tidewater mucket. I wasn't sure about the pond shore knotweed. But Natural Heritage has said that they would approve it if conditioned, and they have a pretty rigorous set of conditions that I feel will protect the species. The one question I have is on the mussel sweep, and I don't know if you know too much about that. It says they're gonna have, it's to be done right before the project starts.
Yeah, like I said, the morning of.
The morning of, but then Natural Heritage says that biologists must obtain a scientific collection permit before moving the animals. So are we gonna do the sweep, determine they're there, and then apply for a collection permit, or
I think
is?
they'll probably just apply for the collection
He'll
permit.
apply for the collection permit, that's what I was gonna say.
They also, just so you know, I believe they do some like box samples.
Yep.
They dig down a little bit and in a couple areas to basically get an idea of how many they might be missing.
Okay,
And that's just their general protocol. But they're also assessing populations of other species and moving other species. So it benefits mussels that are not the tidewater mucket as well to have that happen.
yep,
And the idea with doing it the morning of, so if as the trucks are basically bringing sand onto the beach, you have the biologist out in the water doing his sweep. As soon as he's done, that sand can then be spread in that area. And therefore,
so we have to have the permit prior to doing the sweep. Okay, that was just my question, the way it was written. So, like I said, seeing Natural Heritage's conditions on this, I'm pretty comfortable with the protection of the rare species. That said, some of the issues on the plan have been addressed, like the locations of the trees that the board wanted on, and it really comes down to how comfortable the board is going to be with allowing the sand to go 15 feet into that high water mark. So extend into the Ashumet Pond beyond that high water mark, because that pond does fluctuate So I mean, if we had a high water year next year, I mean, that water's gonna be right up to that revetment. I've seen that, and I've also seen it, much farther out, so it really, depends on the year.
And just to address that, that's the exact reason why we proposed it a little farther out. For in the case where you had a low water year, it seemed a little funny to have fill come up to a point and then have something where you hadn't put anything down and then have the water start a little bit after that. So this is just that little bit of a buffer to account for what might be a low water year, to still have the beach look uniform.
All set, Jen?
Yes. Yes, almost set.
Amy?
A couple questions. How, what do you expect the duration of the project to be?
The actual construction, 2 or 3 days.
Looks like you've received permission, as you stated, for the guardrail removal. Does that mean this crosses town land, and is that an issue?
It goes on the public road, and it's on that public, Courier Road's public road.
So it's more just an access
Yeah, it's
issue
basically the
than-
guardrail along Courier Road that they have to take off a piece to gain access. I mean, they're going down a public road to gain access. I don't believe the town has ever required licenses for that. It's only when you're operating on town property, and this is not town property.
Just asking. Looks like a decent project, clean it up.
I'm throwing that out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mary?
I think you've basically answered my question, but I'll just,
That's okay, we'll do it one more time.
yeah. You were talking about the amount of sand and the grade, and a reason to have it projecting out more is to have the softer slope.
Mhm.
And I thought to myself, why not just use less sand? So the reason is what you were talking about with the aesthetics and the low water years. Okay.
In terms of how far out it goes, the other reason in terms of keeping the slope that way is you have to start with a little bit of depth, otherwise you're gonna be stepping right through it. And once you raise the top of it up a foot, in order to get back to where you started, the farther out you go, the closer to the slope you can stay.
Right. That's all, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mary. Betsy?
I'll start off by saying, I think this is gonna be a good project when it's completed, but I do have a couple of questions.
Maybe they'll take you on a tour and let you all hang out at the beach for a day.
Well, we couldn't possibly accept that. But should we happen to be coming by with a bathing suit someday and you see us? No, I have a couple of questions, though.
Yeah.
What's the substrate there now, where you're gonna be putting?
It's a mix. It's really variable. There is sand there for sure, but it's mixed with a lot of gravel and pebbles. And
Oh, well, I went to the beach, but I meant sort of underwater where,
it extends out pretty much the same that way.
Okay.
There's pockets of thinner, siltier stuff, but then there's areas where it's sand and gravel all the way out. So
okay,
I can wade, so.
okay. This is, you, I don't recall you coming before us
I
before,
have not
at least
come
while
before
I've been
before.
here.
No.
But just a reminder, when you talk about resource areas, there's also buffer. It's on our regulations. That's a regulated resource. So you have buffers to the BBW and buffer to the lake.
Okay.
And my last question is, do you expect, and maybe you can't answer this, but maybe the people who live there can, is there much sand movement due to, if there's storm waves? Yeah.
Very minor, I would say. I've
You're
been there.
gonna have to come to,
Sorry.
thanks.
Joan Bates. I live one street behind, a frequent traveler in the area, of course. And I would say, yeah, I've been there since 2002, very little movement. I don't know if that would change if it were pure sand or not, but.
Right.
Yeah, well, it might be with the way,
Well,
maybe storm waves aren't
it is in
impacting that
sort
beach
of
that
a
much.
very southwestern portion
Yeah.
of the pond. And so there are waves that end up in the pond during storms, wind-generated waves, but the fetch that would generate the biggest waves
Or
would only be
come-comes.
pushing sand on or offshore, so it's not gonna spread sideways.
Mhm.
So you might get a little movement into the pond, a little movement up onto the beach over time, but unlike, say, an ocean beach nourishment where you're expecting it all to shove off down the beach.
Flow downstream.
There's really no expectation that this will need to be renourished in the foreseeable future. We're hoping it stays mostly where it is.
Okay, yeah, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Betsy. Mike?
I like the project. I mean, it seems like a good compromise. If you're keeping Jen happy on this one, you're keeping me happy, so we're okay. It's so relatively straightforward, so I'm comfortable with it. The normal, I'd like to see a little more staking. I really didn't know where the edge of the pond is, because it does go up and down. You know, I go out and I think I got a hand on it, but if you had put a stake or two at the high water mark and one in the water at the edge where you think the sand's going to, it would have helped me.
Oh, they
And I'm
hadn't
not,
done
I'm
that? That was
not
what
gonna,
should have
I'm
been
not
out
gonna
there.
impose my wishes on you after the fact for this one, but moving forward, you know, I really would like to see it. Other than that, I'm good.
Okay. Well, next time we work with the surveying company that did it, we'll just make sure that they put extra stakes out.
Couple stakes in there, yeah, that's it. You got it, thank you.
Very helpful.
They did, I know when I had got a message from you maybe the first go-around, the project had not been staked. So if you went out prior to this past week, or did you go out when they were out there and you just think there wasn't as enough?
When I was there, it was not staked.
Okay, so we did have them staked last Thursday.
Oh, okay,
Um,
all right, all right,
so
all right.
the boundaries
Then
of
there
the
you go.
footprint and
What we have is a
the
failure to
water line
communicate,
should have
we're
been.
okay.
That's okay,
That's
Yeah, I
fine.
went early too.
yeah.
and
So
you-
we
but
knew
it was-
we were gonna continue, and so we didn't want the stakes to be out there for
That's
weeks and months.
perfectly understandable,
So-
okay.
Sorry, but
Thanks, Mike. Kristen?
It looks great. I have one thing, if you were able to find any of that pond shore knotweed, that little flowering plant, would you be able to save it?
if we find pond shore knotweed, we have to talk with Natural Heritage as to how we move forward. Depending on how
Yeah, they
much of
stopped the
it,
project.
Oh,
depending on where it is, how
I
much of
just
it
thought
there
we could
is,
save it.
we'd either have to adjust the footprint. You know, if, for instance, you know, if we find a little bit of it over here, maybe we just pull the footprint back and we don't hurt it. If there's one right here, we're gonna have to talk to them about how we move
Sorry,
forward. And
bring it up.
the answer is, if there's pond shore knotweed everywhere, we don't do this project. There's no pond shore knotweed survey and sweep like there is for the mussels. So we'll be in close communication with them if we do find it.
Well, it's pretty rare, so you probably
Yeah.
won't.
I mean, there's an entire, like, they have at least a two-page set of conditions that this document that Natural Heritage gave us, or recommended, is gonna be basically cut and pasted into your orders of conditions, which is how it happens with Natural Heritage. They have to have approved botanists go out and do the pond shore knotweed survey. They have to have approved biologists going out and doing the tidewater mucket sweep. Natural Heritage, yeah, they locked it down pretty good.
And the group has been in contact with specialists and have identified a person to do each that Natural Heritage has.
Yeah, we'll probably like the names of those, and I'll be written into the special conditions. Okay, thank you, Elise.
Thank you.
Gordon?
All my questions have been posed and answered. Good project, thank you.
I move that we close this hearing and take it under advisement.
Second.
Okay, a motion by Betsy and a second by Courtney. Any other comments, questions? I have one comment. Very nice presentation, by the way. Thank you. Anything else from the board? Anything else from the public? Okay, hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Suppose that you take it under advisement. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Abstentions, unanimous.
Elise?
So it's not this summer, it's next summer, we should take advantage of this.
It could be September. Leduc, L-E-D. Elise, we have it. She just wanted to know how you spell your last name.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Thank you.
I don't know why.
Oh, well, thank you, Elise.
Come see our steaks.
National Heritage marked that project down, so.
Okay, next up is
Yeah, they did.
Igor and Margarita Zarowski. Zervnarovsky, thank you, Mike.
We didn't know.
230, sorry about that.
Yes, we did.
235
Hang on.
Edgewater Drive, West, East Falmouth, Mass. I've
Hang
already
on.
read this in, so.
Mr. Chairman, I
Mike,
need the
good
quorum,
evening.
and it's everybody.
Pardon me?
Quorum's everybody.
Oh,
This-
Okay. Where's everybody?
And I believe we continued this so Mike could address the vegetation requirements that were in the RDAs, or the RDA that was filed on this property back in a couple of years ago. I'm gonna say that.
Back in like 2012.
Yeah,
And also the deck question.
yep.
Mr. Chairman,
Deck.
members of the commission, my name is Michael Borselli from Falmouth Engineering, and I represent the applicants. The Zobnarovskis are here tonight. Very anxious to proceed, and we're hopeful that we've satisfied you and you can issue a favorable order of conditions. This is a continued hearing in response to issues raised at the initial hearing. We submitted revised plans to you, and I'll summarize the changes. We have added the one required tree for the initial mitigation requirement. We have also added 2 trees that were an agreed upon condition of an RDA for the septic upgrade that was approved for Mr. Zolik, who was the previous owner of the property. So those have been added to the plan. In addition, there was a condition that allowed for the 2 trees in 50 square feet of additional mitigation planting, or 3 trees. So we opted for the 2 trees with the additional 50 square foot of mitigation planting. So in addition to the required mitigation planting for the deck, we've added 50 additional square feet, which was a condition of that RDA decision. The commission asked us to quantify the area of the new deck within the Falmouth velocity zone. That total is 174 square feet. There was a request to put a limit of work on the plans, which we have done. We've added dry wells for roof runoff to the plan. We expect there'd be a condition that all roof runoff be contained in dry wells. In addition, we were asked about the age of the original deck. We scoured the town records and discovered that the house was built in 1949. We looked at aerial photos. The deck shows up on aerial photos. However, there's no available aerial photographic evidence to prove it existed prior to '79. The house in shadowing and resolution from the altitude that the photos were taken make it impossible to see one way or the other. So as an alternative, we've submitted an affidavit to you in the form of a letter from Robert Dufton, who's a neighbor, who asserts that he has observed that the deck has been in existence since at least 1979. So I'm hopeful that we satisfied you on that. The house being built in 1949, I think helps demonstrate that it would be very odd for this house to have been built in '49 and then not to have been a deck. So I think not having aerial photographic proof doesn't mean, not having the proof doesn't mean it wasn't there, but the added proof that we've submitted by the building permit records and the affidavit from the neighbor, I think should satisfy you of that. That's the best we could do. And I believe that sums it up. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Sure.
Staff is satisfied that they met the requirements of the RDA. The board will have to deal with whether or not how you feel about the deck. I don't have that much heartburn about the deck. Take the building department, information, and with all due respect to the neighbor, Mike, you know how I feel about affidavits, so thank you for trying, I appreciate it.
That's all we could do.
You tried, but, you know, I think the
think
deck
it's
is
a big
fine. I was more worried with the requirements, of the RDA being met.
All right, thanks, Jen. Courtney,
No questions.
Kristen,
No, it looks fine.
Mike?
I like it, and I like the testimony. It's better than nothing.
Thank you.
There you go.
Betsy?
No questions?
Mary?
I don't have any questions. The affidavit, in principle, I'm fine with it, but it mentions the house address twice. It's wrong in both
We
cases.
submitted a revised.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
It was a
Okay.
typographical error.
No, I realized that. I just wanted a replacement, and because you
We
didn't
did
mention
get it,
it, I
Mary,
didn't.
sorry about that.
Okay, that's fine.
And just to add to that, there is no 253 Edgewood Drive. And
Well, I looked on Google, and they purported to show one.
well,
So,
I looked on the
but-
town assessors, and I mean, if there is one, it's not within the 500 or 1,000 feet either
Yeah.
way. I looked, and I didn't see it. And 241, who's Mr. Zufton's address, is next door.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I,
there's a little- But anyway, it's not that I considered it suspect, it's just not worth much if it's in the record and it's
Sure.
not correct, so.
yep, that was correct.
Okay, thank you, that's all.
Thanks, Mary. Jamie?
No questions.
I move that we close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Second.
So we have a motion by Betsy and a second by Jamie to close the hearing and take it under advisement. Any other comments, questions from the board? Comments, questions from the public? Okay, hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Abstentions, unanimous, so moved.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mike. Have a nice
Thanks,
night.
Mike.
Thank you.
Bye now.
You're welcome.
Good luck with
Enjoy your project, your new deck.
Okay, vote.
Popular tonight.
My goodness.
This forms everything.
Thank you.
No,
Bye-bye.
no.
Okay, next up is vote order conditions, 71 Minot Street.
Hang on one second, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely, Jen, no problem. 71 Minot.
To everybody. This is, this project
The garage.
is the one where Mr. Bunker brought me my lovely present last week. Yeah,
Garage
down
and
in the thing,
the
so they did go ahead and start planting, but, that's fine, I mean, they beefed up the buffer mitigation for the project. They wanted the option to add additional trees, I did discuss that with them on site, and I have no problem with it, so we'll write in the order, the option of adding additional trees in the back if they feel like it, but other than that, they're trying to improve that area. And they did submit photographs of what it looked like when they moved in, so, okay?
I move that we accept as discussed.
Second.
We had a motion to accept and discuss by Betsy, second by Mary. Any other comments or questions? Okay, hearing none, call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Unanimous, so moved. Okay.
I believe the quorum is the same for the next one on Carey Lane, everyone, and this is from
54
the
Terry.
gentleman that you don't see all that often, I don't think we've ever seen him, and he just had the amended planting plan. This was an amendment to the order to add more of a wildflower area around the pool. Remember the pool? They had the pool project to square off the pool fence. And just to do a few more landscape, landscaping improvements.
Yeah, I move that we issue an approval order.
Second.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Yeah. approval order.
It's a present for the pronunciation of our last name.
Oh, my.
This is the first.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That's very nice of you.
Who seconded that last one? Thank you.
Okay, so you all set, Susan, you got that? Sorry about that. Okay, so any other comments or questions? Okay. Betsy,
I'll make an emotion to adjourn.
you gotta vote for this first.
Oh,
Ready?
can
All those
vote,
in
then
favor
adjourn.
say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Okay, now you got it.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Second.
So we got Betsy, unanimous, second, all over the place. Pick one, whatever you want. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Abstentions, we are adjourned.